Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Kimberly, and this is Zach, and we are your hosts for the Daily Huddle on Mondays. We missed you last week, so it feels good to be back here today. Hope everybody had a fantastic St. Patty's Day yesterday, right? I know that we did. But we're excited to have you. We're excited for you to hear from our guest today, Jordan Ilderton. And we are going to talk about how can you treat business like a game that you know how to play, which I think is really an intriguing conversation. Before we get started with Jordan, then I'm going to read a little bit about her and her background and who she is. But I've really enjoyed our time getting to know you and, our conversations together. And we work with her professionally as well, like with our personal stuff. So big shout out to practice what you preach, and thanks for helping us too. But before we do that, let me tell you a little bit about Jordan. So 8 years ago, she was charging $35 an hour as a bookkeeper. Fast forward to today, she has $20,000 cash months, and she's a hands-on mama to her three children. This pivot took getting support so that she could get out of her own way and stop playing small. It gets to be this good when we're willing to go all in on ourselves and our businesses. What she knows to be true is that no successful business owner totally gets there alone. So true. Pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps is a fallacy, and what keeps most business owners from those $10,000 months that they so desire. Her mission is to support you and your own 5,000, 10,000, or whatever thousand, right, dollar months in a way that feels good to you and is simple. When we treat business as a fun game, we cut through the noise and reach those five-figure months so much faster. So, Jordan, thank you for joining us today. I think that I want you to tell everyone, just to start, maybe a little snippet of your story. I identify that as well. So you heard before we started, Zach and I both were school teachers in Dawson County, Georgia. And it prompted us to get into this financial services world because we wanted more time with our girls. We have four girls, right? So we wanted more time with our girls, and we needed to make more money. And it was just, how do we juggle all of this with everything that we do? So your story speaks to me and speaks to my heart very much so. So,
It-
yeah. So tell us a little bit about Jordan.
yeah, majored in accounting, did the accounting route. I love numbers. I took my first accounting 101 class and I was like, oh, my brain is home, like the debits and credits, everything has a place, things have to equal. Like I just clicked into that and loved it. So I did the public accounting route, got my CPA, did all of that and had a quarter life crisis in my 20s. I went to nursing school, became a nurse. And then I was working as a nurse when I had my first daughter. And that's what kind of prompted starting my own business. Like I'd always kind of had the entrepreneurial spirit, but it was really that, like, okay, I'm going to go to work and send my kid to daycare. And all the money I make at work is going to pay for daycare. But I have to send them to daycare so that I can make money. It just didn't make sense. And I was just like, F it. Like, this is the line in the sand. Um, so that's what prompted starting my bookkeeping business. And that was kind of like the natural next step. Like I had a CPA friend who's like, we always need good bookkeepers. So that's where it started. And that was beautiful and amazing. I worked nap times and night times and had two more daughters in quick succession. And so it really served that purpose. And there got to a point, and I think a lot of people reach this. So many of my clients do, and business owners I talk to, is they reach a cap with the time they can work, the clients they can take on, and what they can charge and make. And so it's like, unless they take on way more clients or just work even more than they're already doing, like they just can't make the money that they want to make. And 10K a month is a pretty like normal number for an entrepreneur. Like that's kind of what you need in revenue, at least, even just as a service provider. You don't maybe have inventory or products, but you have team, you have taxes, you might have health insurance for yourself to pay. You want to pay yourself a salary, contribute to retirement. Like 10K is kind of like, in my mind, the baseline. And so many people can't get there because they're capped out at the work they can take on, or they're going to price themselves out of the industry if they charge higher. Like as a bookkeeper, I could be Taylor Swift, but like you're only going to pay a certain amount.
Right.
And so that's what most of my clients run into. And then it comes to the point where it's like, we need to do something different. We need to create something new. We need to package it differently. We need to not be the hands in someone's business. We need to be more of the brain. And so that's kind of what helps them get to like the higher months, but it takes a different set of skills. Like I could easily fill my bookkeeping spots. Like I could fall off a log and book those,
Right.
but to book like a higher ticket client takes something totally different. And so that's what I'm really supporting people with to it's not just like, oh, I did this before and it worked. It's just something totally different. So did that answer the question? That's who I am and who I support and my
It does,
background.
yeah. And your story obviously resonates with me. That's why I love teaching, because my entire paycheck was paying for somebody else to raise my children. And that was not something that made sense, but we had to do it. We had to have a job and you have to work. And it's just this whole mindset that we get into. And then the shift from being an employee to an entrepreneur, that's a big life lesson as well.
And to think that we're supposed to do it all, it's kind of like the mom fallacy. Like the perfect mom, like, is hands on and has dinner on the table and cleans and does this and does
And
it all with
Pinterest
a perfect
parties.
smile and a tablescape. Like it's BS. And so I see it being the same way in business. Like so many people think, I need to be able to offer this service. I need to be able to market it and message it perfectly to my potential clients. And I need to be able to hire a team and navigate team situations and handle sticky money conversations and what happens if a client doesn't pay and deliver on the service and do it all while making 10K months on my own. Like that is BS too. And so that's what I want to like have the conversation to normalize that like the successful business owners you're looking up to are getting support.
It reminds me very much. So there are two things that I want to talk about. I want to talk about the 10K month, but I also want to talk about that conversation of being a mom and a business owner, right? And the perception of having to do it all. And I have lots of fun Pinterest fail stories of, trying to make my oldest daughter, who is now 23, I was going to make her first birthday cake and I made it. And then my mother-in-law had to come in and save me because it was the worst thing you've ever seen in your entire life. And I had a whole, party coming over. So definitely understand that. But it also reminds me of a book that it helped me.
The email?
Yes, thank you. I was like, it was right here in my brain. The E-Myth. So talk about that for a second. Have you read the E-Myth, Jordan?
Actually, reading it with Pinnacle Bank, they're like a regional local bank and they
Uh-huh.
invited me to like this book club. And so that's what we're reading this month on
I was
Thursdays. We
gonna say
read
put it
about it.
on top of your list because it is your business, period. Like it's amazing. But you want to talk about that for a second?
I mean, it's really hard, and we've had these conversations and looking at our stuff and walking through those kind of things to uh, it's hard to give up control of anything, especially for entrepreneurs who are grown a business, right? Let's say you've grown from, an idea to, where you now need support or you need help. That's a hard transition. That's a hard piece because you see or know, you think as I saw, where everything's going and what's going on, and then you realize, wow, no, I don't. Things are spinning out of control and spinning off in these directions. I'm just flowing enough capital at this point to cover that and not. But if we bring it all around and we get help in the right areas and we do those things, then it can take our business to a new level. So I think that a book is a great way to start with that. It does teach people about the difference between being the technician and being the I forget the terms, the manager and all that you can't wear as the baker that loves baking cakes, right? They're obviously better at it than Kimberly was when she made her first birthday cake, but and they love baking cakes, and everybody says you should open a bakery. And all of a sudden they open a bakery and they realize a year down the road they're not baking cakes anymore and they're doing things that they don't love and that their product is not quite as good. So yeah, I love it. So I don't want to talk over your time, but the concept, the idea of doing what you love, doing what you're good at, and doing it on your times and in your terms is near and dear to my heart.
It's kind of like what plays into like that gamifying business and treating it like a game that we learn how to play and that we know how to play. Because when you can step back and not be like the person in your business and this is your baby and all of this, when you can step back and really have that like not a robotic sense, but almost of like seeing that the business is this thing and what does it need and looking at it. So that's like I had literally just pulled up my traffic dashboard before we got on because I was just looking to see like, okay, last week, like the traffic to my website, what is landing with people? Where are people coming from? And to me, that's like a game. So it's like okay, I posted a testimonial story on Instagram and I can see nobody clicked that link. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, good to know. I can see the case study one that pretty much always gets traffic and links. I can see one from a training I did like middle of last year. It probably was June. Someone clicked the link to my website from that. Like, so it's just fun to be like, oh, cool. Like all these little breadcrumbs that I get to like figure out what's working, what's landing. Ooh, do more of that. Speak to more of this. And it just gets to be a fun game. And it's not like making yourself wrong or like, why isn't this working? Or I put all this time into that. Like it just gets to be like when you can hook into like business as a game and I'm just figuring it out, like you take off so much pressure from yourself and results. Sorry, my dog is going bananas.
We don't
And she's a puppy, so she
Yeah.
goes bananas sometimes. But yeah, that's kind of like that. I feel like with the myth, is just kind of seeing that it helps take the pressure off when you can normalize. Like we aren't supposed to be able to do everything, and not everything is going to work perfectly in our business. And we just get to see like, ooh, what does work, and let me go do more of that instead of trying to fix like everything that could be wrong.
Right. I definitely think it's a lot of planting seeds, right? And at some point they're going to sprout. I read your post this morning, and obviously, I think you do a really great job with all of those posts, but I read that post this morning, and ultimately it's not your pitch, right? It's just making your pitch again and again and again. Maybe sometimes you maybe need to make a tweak, but typically it isn't you. Typically it's the other person. And most of the time, whether it's your business or our business or anybody else's business, it's all about timing, right? And if the time isn't right now, that's okay. I love you. I mean it. I'm here, and I'm gonna continue doing what I'm doing. But then when it's a fit for you, come back and we'll revisit the conversation. So tell us now, obviously, we all can identify with bookkeeping, right? Like that makes sense to us. We understand that we might not understand numbers, but we understand that it is numbers, right? And we know, yeah, that's a very traditional business, but you've really grown your business significantly more than just the bookkeeping side of it. So tell us, which is I assume it's a bigger part of your business. Tell us about your mindset and your coaching side of your business, and really what that looks like to work with you, how you help clients, and what that looks like.
I mean, and it makes sense. Like if you look at my journey, it started with the bookkeeping, and then I just saw this gap. Like once my girls got a little older and they were kind of in school, and knowing my clients for some of them have been with me since day one, 8 years ago, and knowing that they're like, Jordan, I don't use those reports, and just seeing that there was this gap of like they're not as profitable as they want to be. They're working all the time. They don't know if they can hire support. Like that motivated me to do this kind of coaching container where it's like we're meeting, they have unlimited support in between their sessions so they can not only move through the strategy piece, but it is the mindset piece. Because there's a quote, and I can't remember who it is, but it's basically like the success or failure of a business depends on like the mindset at the top. And that is so true. You can have the best strategy, you can have the best everything, but if your mindset at the top is shit, that you can't make money or you're not good enough or people don't really value your stuff or it's sleazy to sell or all these things, like that is going to like bump you up against what you could create and take home. So that's more of the coaching piece. Like I use my data numbers, like I have access to their QuickBooks. There's so many simple things in QuickBooks that like blow people's minds that like we just increase their net profit by like $17,000 to $30,000 based on like simple things that they just haven't had the time or capacity to like look into. And then I build these traffic dashboards, which most people charge. If you had someone build this, it would be like $1,000 to $2,000. But to me, it's just like an integral part of knowing your business and like having a pulse on what's going on. So I have that at my fingertips. And then it's this co-creation with the client. Like it's not me with the magic wand. I'm going to fix everything. It's literally like giving them the time and the space to ideate, especially now if they're doing online or organic marketing. Like we have to be so clear. We have to know our people like the back of our hand, and creating messaging that really speaks to that is what's going to make someone stand out in the noise. And it now that the online space, I see it with my own content. I see it with my clients. It's like the more you can drill down and speak to them and their experience, like it goes a long way. So that's a lot of the work, is not like I mean, maybe in the beginning, it's kind of these big strategy shifts and like creating a client journey and their offers, but then it's literally just like tweaks, like mindset and messaging. Mindset and messaging is kind of what we're always coming back to, because you shouldn't be creating new offers all the time. You shouldn't be creating a new client journey, because you're just like losing momentum with the one that you had. So it's literally like do less better. And we're doing that together to see like, okay, cool. This didn't work like we thought it did. How do we need to change that for next time? So it's does that make sense with the like coaching piece? It's like
It does.
we're using the
So
data
you're
numbers,
coaching.
and it's so much more.
So you're coaching them, obviously using their numbers and their data, and coaching them on their online social media presences and the posts that they put out, and you're looking at how that affects both sides.
And I have clients that aren't online. It's basically all referrals or word of mouth. So with one client, we were just working on like a text message that this person is sending to potential referral partners and getting really clear on that messaging. And then we have a specific link that we send to them. So I can pull up the traffic dashboard and be like, okay, this client of mine has sent this link to like 10 people. No one has clicked the link. All right, we got to connect the dots more for what's in it for them and why they need to take this. So even if they're not online, we still have like behind the scenes ways of like knowing. And someone recently was like, that's ruthless. And I'm like, it's not ruthless, it's data. Like,
Yeah.
whether you're looking at it or not, like, but we're being strategic and we're like, cool, we have sent this to multiple people and they obviously don't know what's in it for them. So we need to change that messaging a little bit. So it's like it works with whether you're online marketing or offline in real person. With business cards, like you can have a QR code and you can know that this many people came to your website from the business card. So it's just all there regardless of where you are, but it's just using it to, really know what your business is telling you and what it needs.
It's funny. I think that, thinking back to decades ago where we direct mailers and those kind of things, where some people still do those. I mean, we still get the coupon packs in the mail, and we get things this time of year from 15 different lawn companies wanting to take over your lawn maintenance. But our expectations was 1% to 2% success rate on that, and we just knew the law of high numbers. And I think that we have a kind of a misunderstanding of how important it is to be consistent in our marketing across the board. Like you said, not always trying to, well, that great idea didn't work, let me come up with a new idea and throw it out through my social media. And the people we've talked to a lot, and you mentioned this just now, but that are successful in social media, they spend more time creating than they do consuming, for one. And then secondly, they have a call to action. You call it being very direct or concise, I think, about what you want out of that message. And I think that's incredibly important, is for people watch your story or they hear you, or you put out a post and it's great and they're intrigued and they get done and they're like, that was neat. They move on to the next thing. But if you don't give them that direction of, if you like this, do this or whatever, I think that's
intention behind everything in your business. Like, what's the intention for this email, or what's the intention for that mailer? What's the intention of this post? And just having that at the forefront of like, yeah, I want to create value and put it out there. And, there's a relationship building process here. And so what's the next step to build the relationship, or so that they can get to know me better? And I mean, I still, some of my content, I'm like, I could have done a way better job with that, but it's just like, you're always kind of like, the way you get better at doing it is to do it. Like, you can sit there and stare at a screen all day and think about it over and over, or put it in chat GPT, whatever. But like, you just need to keep doing it more and more to get better at it. And so I think that's just like a nice level set thing to be like, we're all just working on this all the time. It's kind of always our work, especially as businesses grow and change and the economy changes or whatever is happening. We're just kind of always like setting the intention and solving the right problem. But I love what you said about the mailers, and knowing, especially with some people, they kind of get lost in that, like, I just need a bigger audience. I need more followers. I need a bigger list. And most of the people I work with have a high ticket offer. So they don't need thousands of clients. They need few clients, so it's like setting that even as the intention when you're creating content. It doesn't need to be like, 1 million followers, but speaking to the people that need you, it will connect there. And it also, pushes people away that aren't the right fit. So it does both.
Funny, we have people in our world that are very successful on TikTok. And these guys that are successful on TikTok are not, they do write large tickets and they have high net worth clients and those kind of things, but that's not the audience that's coming from TikTok.
Yeah.
It's the millennials and the Gen Zs and the all the gens, right? Except for X, we're the ones that are like out in the pasture somewhere already.
That's
But
because I'm a millennial.
right. But know your audience, right? If you're going to a platform like TikTok to talk about finance and those kind of things, then it's got to be something that's concise and short for short attention spans and a call to action. So know your audience, know who you're talking to, and do it and do that. Talk to that group.
Yeah.
You know,
And I think that's where people get messed up of like they need to be on all these platforms, and it's like just pick one, two at the max and go in there, because they're all so different now that you can't just repurpose everything across the board anymore. It just doesn't work that way. And so really getting clear, I've talked to people who are like,
especially
I'm
until
on this,
you
this, and this.
master
And
one,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Then maybe you can, but trying to figure them all out at the same time is just overwhelming. And I do like what you said about action too, is we can learn everything. We say this in our business a lot, people come in and they want to get started in the financial services business. And we say, let's start day one. I want you to get your license. I want you to take your classes because obviously you have to, but you can do that in the middle of the night, right? You can do that when people are sleeping. During the day, I want to move. I want to go talk to people. I want to have action, because knowledge or action is going to create your knowledge, right? Not just sitting there learning and consuming, because still until you go out and put that knowledge into action, you don't actually, figure it out. So I think that that's a big lesson that all of us business owners can take from that is, we can sit, we can plan, we can think, we can have this most magical online presence in our mind. But until we do that, it's not going to be amazing. And even when we start doing that, it's going to probably suck, for a few minutes. And that's how you get better. And you're like, oh, it's,
Oh,
right. Grant Cardone, who I'm talking about. Some people will. But anyway, that's one of the things that he talks about, right? Is that he started a YouTube channel way back when, and now he's super famous, real estate investor, influencer, mindset, sales guy. But he started out from nothing and just kind of created himself to that. And it was, early YouTube, and he posted everything there, and it's all still there. And he said, I want you to see how bad I sucked when I started, because I didn't get good until I did it over and over and over and over. And then that's another thing. All my people, y'all can see who I follow. But Jesse Itzler, right? If you know who he is, but he talks about the power of 100 hours. And he said, if you do something, anything for 100 hours a year, you're going to be better than 95% of the people in your space, 95% of the people out there, whatever that is. And he was like, if you distill it down, it's literally 18 minutes a day. So you want to play soccer better? Take 18 minutes a day and touch a soccer ball every single day for the next year. I promise you're going to be the top of your level and your team and your organization if you do that, right? If it's talking online, and that's what it is. So all these pieces that it really inundate us all day every day, right? If you're consuming social media and watching what they're doing, you're getting all these ideas like that bombard you. But to your point, pick something, do
yeah.
something, start
And
small, and it
I
grows.
always say my like online media or like social consumption is like 1%. Like I look like I'm online all the time, but I'm not actually online all the time. It's like creating, connecting, and then just a tiny bit. I'm very particular about who I consume, what I listen to. I am like,
Yep.
no, like I'm protecting this space because it will just take you down a tangent. And like you were talking about with the perfection piece, like I was talking to a business owner, and she's a nurse and she has a business and she's not getting the results she wanted. And so in her mind, she needs to get more degrees. And it's like we can always think that we want more degrees or more of this, more schooling. I need more experience. And it's like, you you got to go out there and do it. Like you getting more degrees isn't going to make you a better marketer in your
Right.
business because that's what you need right now. And it happens to, and that's just like such a clear picture because it's so tangible with a degree. But like so many business owners, it's like, I need more experience, or it must be this, or it must be that. And it's like, it just might be you need to get better at marketing and you're just going to have to do it. And it's
Right.
easier to do it with someone who's there to be like, I do content reviews for like my clients. So they'll send me email sequences or, social media, like sales promos. So I comb through all those with them. And it's nice to have someone there who's like, you think you're being specific, but you're not being specific there. But just, yeah, it's like, just, you got to go out and do it and, that's how you get better at it.
I agree. I want to open it up to you guys. We just have a few minutes left. And I know you probably all have burning questions for Jordan. So if you do, raise your hand, unmute yourself, and ask your questions because we just have a few minutes left. And I can't, we're still, oh, there's Jordan. There's Jordan. Oh, there we go. So definitely, if you have questions for Jordan, ask her those questions at this moment. What are you doing?
Oh, your mouse is shaped like a hand. I thought it was somebody's hand raised.
I was like, what are
trying
you
to see
doing?
whose it was. Mine still looks like an arrow, so the hand kind of threw me off. But yeah. So when you sit down with somebody that's like paralysis by analysis, let's say, where they're just literally, I think it's funny you talk about this, what do you call it, where you can see the tracker of your activity online? What's that?
Traffic.
Oh yeah, I do traffic dashboard.
So for most people, I would imagine if you set up a traffic dashboard, there would be zeros everywhere because, like you said, they're just not taking action. They're dealing with the chaos as it comes, or they have that kind of a thought process. And I'll go to Michelle. How do you start with somebody like that? I know that's the $1 million question. When you have
Jordan.
zero traffic, because that's the beginning, right? I want to grow.
Starts with what do you like? Do you like Facebook? Do you like Instagram? Like if you hate TikTok, don't go there. Like just starting with what you like and kind of naturally do well, which obviously we want to stretch ourselves and like do new things and all that, but it's kind of like what are you just naturally good at doing and then start there. And then I have clients who put some stuff out there and they aren't blowing up in any place, but I had a client who she's my age and we kind of gravitate towards Instagram. So she's like, we need to do more posts over there and I'm going to pay the VA more and we're going to boost some of these. And looking at her traffic, I'm like, you get 3 times more traffic from Facebook and you're not even like trying. So like, let's just go there before you spend all this money to try to get Instagram to work. And so it's really like just subtle things like that. Like it's not huge numbers, but it was 3 times higher from Facebook because that's just kind of the clientele and who it speaks to and who's like buying from her. So that's kind of like an easy, low hanging fruit place to start.
Gotcha.
I think inspecting what you expect is obviously a great message. Michelle, I know you have your hand raised, so ask away.
Yeah. Hey, good morning, Jordan. I have a brand new nonprofit. We have almost no income right now. We're just barely paying the bills. And we have no social media presence. Where should we start? What we're looking for is going to a business school and getting an intern to do social media. But then where do we start?
I guess my question is what is, and maybe, I don't need to know everything about the nonprofit, but what's kind of the step you want people to take? Is it to donate money? Is it to donate time? Like, just give me a little idea of like what the intention of you showing
Right.
up anywhere would be.
So we have several purposes. First of all, we are a suicide prevention tool, project247.org. And we need donations because we want to make it an app that will auto dial your friends one at a time until somebody can speak to you at that moment of decision.
Mm-hmm.
Because over 90% of people at that moment of decision, if you can get them to talk, will change their minds.
Mm-hmm.
And I already have proof of concept that it's saving lives. But I need presentations. I need people who will listen and money-making keynotes. And we need direct cash donations. Those are our two
My
priorities.
my thought, because you don't have any kind of audience right now, correct?
None. We've
Um,
grabbed the names, but we have absolutely nothing, no content yet.
and take this or leave this, because this isn't like us working together one to one, but like if you're thinking about promoting your business or your nonprofit, it's about getting in front of your audience, and it's also about getting in front of other audiences. Like what I'm doing right now is considered getting in front of another audience. So since you don't have an audience, like it might be easier to start with getting in front of other people's audiences if you have personal connections, if you have podcasts or speaking or anything like that that you could do. And then, hopefully that would kind of get you some funds. And then at the same time, kind of in tandem with that, you can use, like if you're going to in-person events or podcasts or things like this, like kind of using what you're talking about there to repurpose it as content for audience and kind of building that up. So that would kind of be like, okay, you're getting in front of other people's audiences and you're kind of creating content that you can repurpose in a different way for your audience, and then just get clear on, kind of who are you marketing to? Who are the people that are going to donate the money? Is it, probably maybe moms on Facebook, or it's, these people on Instagram? Like kind of get clear on who you're speaking to and thinking about where are they hanging out. Um, does that make sense? Of like, you kind of think
Yeah,
of this like avatar of like, who is this person that is going to donate? What do they do every day? Where do they consume content? What do they like? Where are they hanging out? And then you go there. And so you're kind of hitting both places at once, and you're not having to like recreate everything for like your audience.
right.
Is that helpful to think about as a start?
I already have well over half a dozen podcast appearances.
Oh, good.
So you're saying just repurpose those audios?
Well, it's not even a matter of like repurposing the audios, but you can take the ideas of like because you probably already have like messaging in those, and you already have like calls to action. Maybe you
Mm-hmm.
had stats that you looked up for those, or you know case studies, like whatever content you kind of used in those. Like maybe it's in a verbal podcast, you spoke it, but can you take whatever that nugget was and write it in a post with a call to action? So and
Okay.
feel free to tell me, like maybe I was on a podcast and I mentioned this case study. Like maybe I write that case study down and then the call to action at the end. Does that make sense? Like it's not just like you're like taking this podcast and just blanket put it out to Facebook, but it's like, let me get the nuggets here that I used
Nope.
and put those in a post or a newsletter.
That absolutely makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And it can go vice versa. Like some of the stuff I'm talking about today is like stuff that I've written posts about. So it's like your message kind of crosses over. But if you think about the podcast or examples or stats and just kind of put those in written form with the, you know, and then having people sign up for the newsletter, you can also kind of repurpose those to the newsletter. So just trying to think about not always creating something new, but you know, just using it in different ways because people consume content differently. So um, they can
Yeah.
work for you in different places.
And everybody keeps referring to your newsletter, your newsletter. We have nothing and we have no one to send it to. So would you say you have to have a newsletter?
I wouldn't say you have to have a newsletter. I'd say it's helpful, but if you are going to have a newsletter, you want to promote the newsletter. Like that is the thing you're promoting. Sign up for this. That's the call to action. Whereas right now it sounds like money is the call to action. And so I wouldn't
Yeah.
like confuse people with like, donate money and sign up for our newsletter. Like it kind of needs to be one or the other. And maybe once you
Okay.
get to a place where you have more money coming in or you feel good about the number in the bank, then you're like, okay, well, let me focus on building my newsletter and getting people on that list. So if,
Right.
yeah,
Okay.
just figuring
That
out
makes a
what
lot
you
of
need to
sense.
focus on right now.
So Jordan, I want you to take a quick second and tell people how to find you. And maybe even you have a Facebook group, right, that you go live. And so I think that would be a great place for some
Yeah,
just
I would
information, right? So
love people
tell
to
me and
find
I'll
me
type
there.
it.
It's Peaceful and Profitable 5-Figure Entrepreneurs. It's my Facebook group. It's a little over 2 years old. I've gone live every week, mostly for those 2 years. I mean, there are definitely holidays and sometimes in the summer. I take a month off in the summer, so repurpose content then, but it's peaceful and profitable 5-figure entrepreneurs. You'll get weekly trainings that are like this. You can show up live and ask your questions, kind of like we did with Michelle. So it's kind of like, on the fly, getting your questions answered. You can also promote yourself, promote your business. It's just a great place to connect with other business owners and other kind of like-minded. I call it peaceful and profitable because that's what we kind of all want. We want to obviously have a profitable business, but feel peaceful with that. I'm also on Instagram at Ilderton_bookkeeping_coaching. So I give a lot of value there and more kind of like personal behind the scenes stuff. Yay, thanks. But yeah, find me in either of those places and I'd love to connect with y'all. And obviously if you have more questions after this, I would love to hear from you and, I'm available for those. I give free 30-minute coaching calls. So those are available if you're interested and wanted to see if you're a fit for that or kind of how those roll. Like you can just reach out to me.
There you go.
Awesome.
There you go. Providing value before you ask for any money. How about that? It's a great tool. Great tool. So, well, thank you, Jordan, very much. And thank you guys. Hope it was a benefit for you. It certainly has been for us this morning. But as we go out and wrap things up, remember the 8 tenets that we live by here at the Daily Huddle. Love, laugh out loud, stress less, right? Take care of your body, eat things that are good for you, eat mostly plant-based, give, sleep, move, and then finally take your pause. Like Kimberly loves my move. That's what I do every time I say that. Take your pause, that time between stimulus and response. That's the one time you have to choose how you respond. So in the words of lyrical genius, check yourself before you wreck yourself, right? So guys, happy Monday. We'll see you same time, same place tomorrow on the Daily Huddle. Thank you, Jordan.
Thanks, Jordan.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much, y'all. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.